And so I'd like to start off with how I came to know Christ. So back when my family was in India, we had a lot of VBSs at our church there. And during these VBS sessions, we used to learn a lot of missionary stories and a lot of biblical stewards who would pour out their lives to God. But whenever I would hear that, it would always be something that was like monotonous. Every time I hear, yes, I hear the same thing. Everyone's been doing that. Okay, fine, it's nothing new. And there was this one time in 2016 on the last day of VBS that I came home. I was tired and I came home, and I was an avid reader back then. So I love books. I love to read books. And usually when I go to sleep, before I go to sleep, I try to read a book and I go to sleep that way. And so that day, after I came from VBS, I started reading the book Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. I hope most of you have read that. But in that book, as I was reading it, I came to the section where Christian, who is the main character in the book, thank you. Christian, who is the main character in the book, he starts to find peace and starts to find what life truly means. He's trying to find the truth in life. And he finds the cross. As soon as he finds the cross, his burden starts to roll away. That's exactly what it says in the book. And as I was reading that, I started remembering about the things that I had done previously. The burden that Christian was having on his back is basically his sins, right? And so, with that metaphor in mind, I was thinking, I have a lot of sins too. Can someone take that sin away? Can someone remove that sin away? And as I started reading the book, I ended the book, and I started remembering. God prompted, and I remembered all the things that were so far beyond me that I don't think I would have remembered if it was not through God's help. Started remembering a lot of things, and tears started to roll down. And so I took my mom, and we went to the terrace. So in India, we have a top terrace where we dry clothes, all of that. So we went up there because it was silent, it was in the night, so it's pretty silent. And I and my mom, we prayed well into the night. And that's when I started acknowledging Jesus as my Savior. And God worked through me from then on. I can say with surety that like every step of my life, I have tried to cling on to God, right? I've tried my own things, but it never worked. Whenever I trusted in God, that's when it started to click. And I'd like to also give you a background of how we came here as well. So after we landed in the US in 2017, I had to start my high school. So I came in just in time for my high school. And I found it really hard to adjust to the culture and communicate effectively. And sometimes during lunch times, I would like sit alone because I didn't know I didn't know anyone. Everyone had groups of friends from middle school, so they would just be in their friend groups. But as I was praying for a friend, God quickly blessed me with three friends. And they lived close to my house. And what that meant was every evening after school finished, we would go and play cricket in the nearby playground. And that reminded me of my friends back in India. I missed them a lot as soon after I came here. And God helped me get the same situation from what I had in India to now. And during these couple months, God really helped me grow spiritually. And God really, in His infinite mercy, He helped me to overcome my struggles for His glory. And so after 4 years, I was successfully able to graduate high school, and I moved to UTD, which was God's next step for me. And as I came to the end of my 4 years at college, I had to start looking for jobs. I'm sure many of you know that in the tech industry right now, the job market is pretty bad. It's very hard for anyone to find jobs. And so as I started searching for a job, I started around 2023, late 2023, and nothing clicked. Not one job, not one job. I applied everywhere, wherever I would put my phone on notifications, and I would get as soon as a job opens up, I would get a notification and I'll apply just like that. But nothing clicked. And during that time, even though I had applied to a lot of opportunities, a lot of people would also apply to them and they would get the jobs. But then I would ask God, why not me, God? You placed me in a situation where I I am a child of you, and you have I mean, and I am the head and not the tail. You make me the head and not the tail, and that's what your word says. Why am I having to struggle through this, God? And I really want to acknowledge my dad during this time because he every morning he would pray for me, and I think I really did not value it that time because I was too busy on planning my future instead of worrying about how can God help me in the situation. I think my dad did that for on behalf of me, and I really want to thank you, Daddy, for that. And so as I started to pray about the situation of not being able to find a job, God gave me a very unique thought. I had never thought about this before. And so he had set everything in place before he even gave me the thought of it. So that's how wonderful our God is. And so the thought basically that came to me was to team up with a couple of my friends and go into hackathons on the weekends when school was out. And so entering into a hackathon is pretty highly selective. They only take in people who have really good resume, have really good skills, and are able to compete well for 36 hours. And even though I thought I might not be able to get in, I was able to get in through the help of God. I prayed, I applied, and in a few weeks, I was able to get in. And that is purely by the grace of God. Um, and so, as a fresher, even though I did not have the amount of experience that others had in my level, God opened doors for me, and He helped me to enter into hackathons and win prizes. And one thing I want to say is that whatever door that God opens is always the best. There's no other door that anyone else can open that cannot be superior than what God has for you, right? And for me, the first door that God opened proved to be the best door for me. So the first hackathon that I got accepted into was Rice Hacks, which was conducted at Rice University in Houston. And so, with my small experience of building projects for like small companies and all of that, I took a group of my friends with similar experiences, and we went to and participated on the hackathon. And by God's grace, I ended up winning first place for my team. Actually, my team ended up winning first place for this company called Fidelity. I'm sure most of you know this. And little did I know that me winning that prize would help me stage my future, right? And God was working behind the curtains to do something that I could never have imagined. And since I had won for Fidelity, a couple of days later, I started trying to get in touch with the recruiter, and they initiated an application for me. And a few days after they initiated the application, and I spoke with the recruiter was actually impressed with my resume, and they passed it on to a lead recruiter who called me, and he said, "We would like to take you for an interview." That was the first time that has ever happened to me. Imagine this would have not happened if I had not won at the hackathon, and that is purely by God's grace. And me getting this opportunity to talk with the recruiter, absolutely a miracle. And one thing I learned was that God is working, and when He is, there's no place for us to doubt Him, right? And even though everything was uncertain at that moment, I had only talked with the recruiter, spoken with him, but I wasn't sure about what was going to happen next. So I was still continuing to apply, continuing to go to hackathons. And yeah, at this very uncertain moment, by faith, I was able to trust in God and apply for a work permit, even before I had graduated. And usually, this step is not usually recommended because it poses a lot of risk for someone who is a non-citizen. And I somehow knew that God will make a way. God has brought me to this land. He will make a way for everything that He has done so far, and He will do it in the future. And during this time, God reminded me that He is the Alpha and the Omega. He is the beginning and the end. Without Him, nothing goes, nothing moves, right? And during that time, all I could do was just thank God and just ask Him for what my steps are for my future, because it was very uncertain. And so I applied for my work permit, and uh, the next week after I applied for my work permit, I got a call from the recruiter again, and we did an interview, and after the interview, he said, "I'm happy with you. We'd like to move you on to the next resume." Usually, they will end the call and they will do it on another day. They will talk with their team and do it. But before ending the call, he took a couple seconds and he said, "Yeah, we'll move you on to the next round." And that's just purely by God's grace, you know. And then a week later, the second round was a 1 hour interview, and God really helped me through that. And he gave me the wisdom that I things that I did not know. I was able to understand what the question was before me and tell the right answer. And that is purely by God's grace. I cannot stress how important that is. That when we cling on to God, He'll put things in places in the right way that we have to walk in. And that is just that no one can do. Only God can. And I knew during this time that God will not leave me. And after I finished the interview, I got my work permit in 2 days, and I got my work permit, but I did not have a job. So um, so that was kind of something that was hectic for me. I was kind of tense, and I was praying to God. And after a couple of days, I got a call back from the interviewer and said, we'd like to extend an offer to you. And at that time, I couldn't even say anything because I was just too taken aback. I'm like, this did not happen a year ago. This only happened just now, and everything's just going very fast at this moment, and it's purely by God's grace. And after the interview and I got the call, um, I got my work permit and I was able to start my work on January 13th at Fidelity. But all of this would not have happened if I did not give my heart to God. Right? That's what I want to stress on. It's very important, young kids. It's very important for you to give your heart to God so that He can use you now in the future. And I really want to thank my parents, my sister, for all of the blessings and prayers that they have poured out to me. And I especially also want to thank Stephen Uncle. I know he's not here, but I'll tell him thanks another way. Stephen Uncle, John Uncle, Johnson Uncle, and everyone else who consistently prayed for me. And I really appreciate it and value it. And because of that, I'm standing here to witness God's faithfulness in my life. And by the grace of God, as I mentioned, I started working at Fidelity. And I request you all to just please continue to pray for me as I move into this new phase of my life, and that God will show me what to do. I know it's just a job, but I really value it because it's from God. It's not something that I had done. So I just really want you all to pray for me that I will do His will in everything, that I don't take rash decisions by myself, and that I please God in every way. Right? Thank you so much.